I really appreciated President Ellen kanina, no, when she really made an inspiring talk for everyone, and citing how fortunate our new graduates, even the younger generations nowadays, na talagang they can already have all these webinars, no, at the comfort of their home, and then giving them all the tips and techniques in coming to an interview, preparing their CVs, as well as how to behave well in an interview. Tama naman yun, naabutan ko talaga yung instances that I really have to go to the office, join the job fairs, and then tawag ito, talagang you do it personally, and hindi siya hindi siya ganun ka-convenient and ka-comfortable, no? Unlike what you have now. So at this point of time, I want to share my screen. I'm actually asked to talk about creating an impactful resume. So nakikita niyo ba yung screen at naririnig ba ako? Sorry, I forgot to ask. Naririnig ako, excited lang.
Yes po.
Okay. Are you seeing the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So again, I'm here to talk about creating an impactful resume, because this is the first step in recruitment process. No? This is part of the screening process in which the recruiters, the HR managers, the talent acquisition managers will paper screen and look for the most qualified candidates, no, in a particular job. Kaya kailangan talaga each and every one of us would really prepare a resume that would create an impact and a good impression to our employers. Okay. So, wag nating walain yung cover letter, because I've noticed that out of the hundreds, or even maabot pa nga yun ng almost 1,000, no? Yung mga resumes na nare-receive namin across different sites, in my case, no, in Del Monte, um, I would notice hindi na nagsusulat or hindi na nagsisend ng cover letter yung mga applicants. No? They already get into the resume. But me personally, being in the profession for like more than 20 years, I would recommend, no, or suggest that you still need to send the cover letter. At himay-himayin natin bakit importante yung cover letter along with the resume when you submit. Okay? So what is a cover letter and why is it important? A cover letter is a one-page document that you submit as part of your job application. And that's alongside your CV, your curriculum vitae, or your resume. So what do we need to write in a cover letter? So there should be a header that should already contain, no, or where you input your contact information. And you should be able to have the greeting part. So greet the hiring manager. So it's always ideal to know the name of the hiring manager. But if it's not possible, then you can just place the hiring manager and then followed by the company name. Then have an opening paragraph. Okay. So you can grab the reader's attention with like highlights or 2 or 3 of your top achievements. In the second paragraph, you can already explain why you're the perfect candidate for the job. Okay? Parang summary nga siya. No? And the third paragraph, you can explain why you're a good match for the company. And then there's this formal closing. So you don't need to write a cover letter na sobrang mahaba, no? So just a parang kumbaga parang teaser of the kind of applicant that you are. Okay. So ayan, may sample, no? Structure of a cover letter. So there you go. There's the contact details. And then number 2 is the hiring manager or the department information or the company information. And then you have your opening paragraph. You have the body, the closing paragraph, and then the formal salutation. So this is basically, no, the information that's needed for the cover letter. Okay. According to survey, no, 26% of the recruiters read the cover letters and consider them critical in their decision to hire or to progress in the next level of the recruitment. Okay. And then it says that 56% of the recruiters want applicants to attach a cover letter to the resume. And 49% of the HR managers considers a covering letter the second best thing to give your resume a boost. Okay? So there you go. The reasons that cover letters are still relevant. It offers a relevant and detailed explanation. It also shows how well you communicate. No? Na-mention kanina ni Sir Freddy na you have to know how to, you have to have the correct spelling, di ba? Yung grammar. So it shows no, how well you communicate. And it also demonstrates that you are taking your application seriously. Okay, so yun yung mga a few reasons why cover letters are still relevant. Okay, so we talk about CV or the curriculum vitae and resume. So ayan, my definition, no? It's a short written summary of a person's career, your qualifications, your education, and ito yung most commonly used na word, di ba, in American and British English. So it's either a CV or a resume. So I'd like to have or to be able to share to you some of resume writing tips. Number one, you have to make it clear and concise. No? So klaruhin natin yung mga information and dapat concise siya. Number two, you have to be able to proofread your resume before submission. No? Sometimes, or oftentimes, nakikita ko yon mali-mali yung mga nasa resume. No? For example, yung construction of the sentence, yung grammar, very common mistake would be the spelling, no? And yung subject-verb agreement. So, yun yung mga pinaka, sabihin natin, we felt konting bagay lang naman siya, maliit lang naman siya, parang typographical error. But please remember that the hiring managers are reading your resume. Kaya they would eventually create an impression no, to the employers. It's very important that you have to proofread everything before you actually send it or yung bago mo ipindutin yung send button ng computer mo. Okay? So tailor your resume to suit the position that you are applying for. Okay. So, ayun, na-mention din kanina ng first speaker na Sister Freddy, dapat you have to be able to understand well the job description, the job ads, bago ka mag-apply. No? So, in my more than 2 decades of practice in recruitment, I noticed that more than a lot, no? I should say a lot of the applicants who just, ayan, submit lang sila ng resume without really looking into tawag na to possibility na pwede ba kaming ma-hire dito? Parang ang layo naman ng qualifications namin. For example, we would place it in the job that we're looking for production supervisors and we're looking for licensed engineers. You know? So talagang very clear doon yung mga job specifications. And yet, meron ding ibang, they are in the medical field and they would still apply. No? So, kumbaga, there's a disconnect. Huwag na nating pag-aksayahan yun. Huwag na nating sabihin, o baka naman swertehin. Because in most cases, talagang when we screen, we really consider what are the job specifications and align it, binabangga namin yung sa qualifications din ng mga nagsasubmit. Okay? So tailor your resume to suit the position that you are applying for. Okay. So number 5 is highlight what you have accomplished. Very important yun, no? For example, you are applying a sales position. So perhaps you can highlight all the projects that you have done in the past. example, you increase the sales by 20% by doing this particular project. So dapat lagay niyo sa resume niyo. Okay? Number 6, be honest. O wag isulat doon yung mga hindi naman totoong nangyari or hindi naman totoong nagawa. Because eventually, if it's there, if the information is in your resume, then definitely the interviewer will ask you, when you say you are, halimbawa, I am highly skilled in this particular need, no? Tapos tinanong ka, may mga technical questions talaga, hindi mo nasagot kasi hindi ka naman talaga skilled doon sa yung kung ano yung sinulat mo, hindi naman talaga siya totoo. So you cannot explain it further. So malalaman that you're not being honest. Okay? Number 7 is quantify your achievements. Avoid writing or explaining yung mga motherhood statements, no? So dapat talaga meron kang quantifiable achievements. Halimbawa, you're applying for an HR or recruitment specialist. No? Sabihin mo, tanungin sa'yo ng tawag nito, interviewer. Okay, so since you're applying for a recruitment specialist, nilagay mo dito that you were able to achieve a high fill rate of the vacancies. So, i-quantify mo yon. Ilang percent, no, yung fill rate mo. Paano mo siya ginawa? How were you able to to achieve that high fill rate in recruitment? So dapat ganon. You are able to quantify your achievements. And number 8 is use simple words. Okay? Simple words lang talaga. Huwag yung masyadong highfalutin words na talagang hindi na rin maintindihan, no? And at the end of the day, ikaw pa yung mahirapang mag-explain. So, just be very simple. Okay, so yun yung mga resume writing tips. Next, these are impressive things to put on your resume. So, ito yung mga must-haves. Kailangan lagay natin ito sa ating resume. Number 1, if we have certifications, lagay natin. Okay? Projects. Okay? Relevant coursework or relevant experiences, no? Significant work-related experiences. Involvement, mga professional organizations. Okay? Trainings, very important because that will encourage, no, a conversation with the interviewer, that you are practically engaged in a lot of self-development, professional development. So very important to place the trainings in your resume. Licenses, of course, very important as well. And then volunteering, no? Kasi itong volunteering, that would somehow show the interviewer or the HR manager, the talent acquisition manager, that the things that you are passionate about, no? The things that you would want to do, kahit hindi ka bayaran, no? Kahit walang sweldo, you are still doing these things. So you still volunteer to do these things. So that says a lot of things about you. And then number 8, of course, wag nating kakalimutan yung mga competencies and skills, no? Lagay natin yun sa ating resume. So these are the must-haves or the things that you need to put on your resume. Okay, so these are just an examples, no, of resumes. I labeled it 2, like we have the freshers or the fresh grads, and then the comprehensive resume. So kanina na-mention din ni Sir Freddy that you don't really need, no, to place your photo on your resume. Depende naman siya. You can either place it or pwede rin hindi. But it's not really a requirement. Or if it's a requirement of the job that you are looking, that you are trying to gain, for example, in an airline, di ba? So, kailangan mo talagang ilagay yung, they would really, tawag na to, stipulate it in their job as that you have to place a whole body, tawag na to, photo. Okay, so yun. But for others, yeah, try to review and understand the job ads, the positions that are being posted by the employers, and then that you can decide whether you needed to place your photo or not anymore. Okay, so you can have the differences there between the two kinds of resumes. No? We have the freshers, ibig sabihin ito yung mga tawag nito bago pa lang graduate, wala pa silang work experiences. So they cannot write it on their resume. So just make sure that you have there your um, contact details, okay? And then, of course, educational qualifications, the skills, and then the projects, no, and the area of specialization. So if you compare it to the comprehensive resume, there you can already see the experiences, okay, the highlights, and then the hobbies, no, or yung mga volunteer work that you do. Okay. And then makikita mo, no, at the side of the picture, andun yung kanyang tawag na to, position. So there's a brief explanation on the position. So basically, ito lang naman, no? Let's not make it very complicated. A one-pager or two pages, no? A two-page resume will do. Huwag yung sobrang haba-haba naman kasi baka ma-board na rin at parang maano na rin yung taga-paper screen, no? Just make sure that all the important details are contained in your resume. So, yun lang yung very important. Okay, I'm down to my last slide. So, what can resume do for you? Of course, it makes the first impression about you. So, make sure that you are going to create, no, a good impression to um, the recruiters. Number two, of course, it helps you organize your thoughts and it highlights the relevant facts about you, your education, and the significant experiences that you have. Number four, it creates a value to the employer. Ito, ulitin ko, the resumes and the cover letters are the first documents that will represent a written you. So, kailangan you create that value to the employer for you to be progress to the next step. And of course, finally, that's going to be the basis of the employer to progress you to the next steps in hiring. So pag talagang na-impress sila sa iyong resume because it's complete, it's concise, and comprehensive enough, and you got their attention, you are going to be called for the interview. So 2 points to remember. Interview gets you the job, but of course, the resume gets you to the interview. Okay, so I think that's it for me. Thank you, everyone.